Yeah.
11 times.
11 times what? What happened 11 times?
Kid on my Zoom class left his mic on very annoyingly, and he started sneezing. And he sneezed like 11 times in a row, and none of us knew what to do. Not even the professor. We all just kind of sat there and we're like, so this is happening. And not a single person even said bless you. We all just sat there in shock.
If you sneeze more than like 3 times, you don't get a bless you.
Yeah, no.
You're just being annoying. You're being a burden.
Yep. Get out of here. You were supposed to be muted anyway. Oh, alright. What a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Howdy. So,
welcome back.
we were rolling. I hope you enjoyed our highlights reel.
Yeah, yep. I posted on my Instagram story.
So did
my
I.
private story. So
hopefully we got some new
if you're
subscribers
here,
out there.
If you're here from that, welcome.
Thank you. Also, you don't have to.
You don't
feel like you have to be here. Just hitting subscribe is all you have to do.
If you want to like the video, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Put a stupid little comment.
Yeah, oh, that'd be great.
Just be like, hey, you guys are doing great.
Thanks. But yeah, that was scary. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, touch upon that. It's very scary to do this. What we're doing is very scary.
It's scary, like, to think that things we're saying are being put out there.
Yep, they're out there, and people will hear them and contemplate
we're
them.
Crazy. We
We
have
are.
some weird thoughts.
That don't sound that crazy when we're in the safe space here with just us.
But
But
once
then-
you go to say them in front of an audience someday, maybe,
Yeah.
it gets scary.
It's a little different.
That said,
We've been watching the show the past, month and a half. From season 1 through season 7. We just finished it last night.
it's called The 100.
It's called The 100.
CW's The 100.
Yep,
It's definitely a CW show.
it is. You can tell.
That's not a compliment.
It's not.
CW has some bad shows.
Talk about Supernatural another day.
Maybe we'll talk about Supernatural someday. Little backstory. I watched The 100. I watched the pilot as it aired in, 2015?
I believe so. We looked this up before.
We did. 14. Oof.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
man. Okay. Yep, I watched the pilot as it aired, and then I watched the first couple episodes by myself, as, weekly, and then I told my friends at school, I was like, hey, you should come to my house, come watch this show I found. And they did, and they loved it, and I was like, great, I started a thing. I watched it, season 1 ended, and then I rewatched season 1 once or twice because it was so good, and I loved the characters, and it was so much fun. And then season 2 came out, and I went, it's fine though. Season 1's
fine,
usually better than the rest
okay.
of it anyway, whatever. And so then season 2 ended, and I rewatched season 1 and 2 probably a couple more times. At this point, I've been watching for 2 years, because 2 seasons could come out. And then season 3 happened, and everything went off the rails. Because, I thought I had watched to season 4. I didn't. I stopped 3/4 of the way through season 3.
Which we figured out this watch.
I figured that out while we were watching it. I couldn't do it. It so quickly turned on its head and got so
We'll get to that.
bad.
We'll get to that.
But so I stopped. And my friends kept watching. Good on them. They're stronger than me. And they've been watching ever since. At least one of them. You know who you are. And she's been kind of keeping me updated on what's been happening, but I pretty much had no idea at this point.
Yeah.
So, a little while ago, I don't know why, I got the bug and I wanted to watch it again. I don't remember why. Had we talked about it or something?
I don't remember why either. because we've always talked about this show, because I also watched season 1 way back in the day when it first came out, but I didn't get past that. And as I found out in my watch through, I didn't even finish season 1.
You watched a lot less than you thought you did.
Yeah, I thought I had gotten into season 2, but I hadn't. I probably watched 3/4 of season 1. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, because it was still good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I don't know, but so we decided that we were gonna watch it again. I think maybe because I heard that the season that was airing was the last season, and it was about to end forever. So I was like, may as well watch it all, so I will never have to think about it again. Well, I wish I could never think about it again. So like 2 months ago, we started watching it.
So what's the show about? We can explain it better.
In season 1, there's like a nuclear war.
There was
a nuclear war, and it's like happening. Yeah. A nuclear war happened on Earth, and the 12 countries sent up people in space stations because they were not going to survive the nuclear fallout.
Yeah.
And they didn't. Nobody did. Well, but so the show's about 100 years after that. The people living on those space stations up in space, they've like all connected and they've become one space station called the Ark. And the problem is the Ark is running out of oxygen. They can't sustain the amount of people that they have. So they decide to send prisoners down to Earth, even though they basically know it's not livable anymore. Because they were sent up to space because it wasn't livable, and so it's still not livable.
They've just gotten to a point where they're so desperate that they're like, if there's even a chance that Earth is survivable, we gotta know. So
yeah, it's not even why they did it though. They did it just because they needed air for the people.
A reason to get rid of people too.
They were gonna get rid of them one way or another. Whether it was gonna be they were gonna execute them, so they're like, we might as well send them to the ground.
So they have a chance, yeah.
And like everyone on the Ark, nobody thought they were gonna live. Like these children were dead. If you commit a crime on the Ark, you get executed. No matter what the crime is, you could like steal something tiny and you get executed. But if you're under 18, you get put in jail. No matter what the crime is. Until you turn 18 when they execute you. Yeah. But so the only prisoners they sent down to the ground were under 18, because those are the only prisoners they have. And so they send 100 prisoners to the ground. That's why the show is called 100. It's about those 100 kids on the ground.
Yep, trying to survive the Earth.
And they learn that it's livable, and it's great, and it's a lot of fun. And then the big twist of the season 1 is that there are people living on the ground. Like, they're grounders down there. And they've been living there this whole time. And so that's the, like, big conflict.
And it's like, wow.
Whoa. Cause
and they're like, get off our planet.
And, yeah. But so that's the main conflict of the first season. Yeah. And, like, that's good. That's a great plot.
And it is. It's great.
It's really interesting.
It's awesome. It's really, really cool.
Yep. It's really good. Season 1 is really, really good. Really fun. The characters are so much fun. And then season 2 happens, and it's still really good, but it kind of hits a point where I don't know if they changed writers or something, but it's like the writing's a little different. And we're adding layers where they didn't need to add layers.
That we shouldn't have.
They're introducing really weird things to the show.
And it really says something about the show that they could have kept the just like us and grounders, and because then we also have but we have plot going on the Ark too.
Yeah, because there are still people up in space.
We keep up with everything going on with them too.
Yep.
And so there's enough happening that they could have kept that going past season 1.
Of course, yeah.
But and then when they would like run that dry, they would have to bring something else in, but they hadn't.
But they hadn't yet. Yeah, we were still going.
So it sucks that season 2 happens, and then they've already thrown us another thing in there.
Yeah.
So,
by the end of season 2, I think, our people in space end up on the ground with us.
Yeah.
So, like, everyone's together again, and it's great. But season 2 is still fine. It's still interesting.
Yeah, we introduce a whole new group of people, and it's annoying, but it makes sense.
It does.
It goes with the thing.
So by the end of season 2, our people end up on the ground.
Yes.
And season 2 is like dealing with the people up in space dying because there's no oxygen. Sending the 100 prisoners to the ground basically did nothing.
It took them a long, because they sent a bunch of children to the ground that were prisoners and like are against, they want to rebel and stuff. It took them a long time to figure out that they were surviving on Earth.
Yes,
and that they
could. Yep.
It was possible to survive on Earth.
So the people up on the Ark didn't, like, they just assumed that they executed these kids and they had to figure out their air problem.
Yep.
But eventually we make contact. And it's a whole ordeal getting down to the ground, as you'd expect. But some of them survive.
Yeah. A good amount of people survive.
Yeah. The important people lived.
Yeah.
Well, actually, go back a little. The main character of this series is Clark Griffin. She's a 17-year-old.
Wasn't even go into it.
I know, but we have to talk for Clark. She's like 17 who was imprisoned for keeping a secret. She had to keep a secret. It doesn't matter. But she didn't commit a crime.
But she's the daughter of the doctor.
She's the daughter of the, like, main doctor on the Ark. Her name's Abby. So, we have basically 3 main characters who are up on the Ark, and that was Chancellor Jaha, who is the, like, president up there.
Yeah.
Chancellor.
His vice chancellor, Marcus Kane.
We'll talk about Kane. Kane is absolutely the worst in the first season. He's, oh god, he's the one who signed the order to have the prisoners sent out. He, like, has 300 people killed for air.
He makes all of the hard decisions, and he pushes...
He does.
Jaha, the chancellor, to make all those hard decisions. Because he's like, this is for our people, this is for the human race's survival.
He knows what's best up there. And sometimes what's best is hard, but he makes some tough decisions. And then the third person up on the Ark is Abby Griffin, Clark's mom. And then, it's a long story, it doesn't matter.
So then we have Clark.
Down on the ground we have Clark, and then there's Bellamy. Bellamy Blake.
And his sister
Octavia, yep. Octavia,
which is a big no-no, you're not supposed to have siblings.
Octavia's not supposed to exist.
Yeah.
Because there's little air and little resources up on the Ark, you're never allowed to have more than one kid. So, Octavia's a big no-no, so she was imprisoned for existing. But, so Bellamy is, like, 23 in the first season, so he shouldn't have been sent down to the ground. But he impersonated a guard.
He snuck on
so he could get on the ship.
Could stay with his sister.
So he could look after Octavia, because his sister, his responsibility. God.
Poor kid.
But it's great, and then there are more characters. We have a colorful cast.
Yeah, and a lot,
Jasper,
like, we lose a lot and we add a lot.
Yeah, people are dying like crazy, because it's scary. We're on the ground. It's the apocalypse.
Bad things are happening.
But, so season 1 and season 2 are basically that.
Yeah.
And then season 3 happens.
I think the best way to say it is we introduce some crazy technology stuff. Which is really where the show takes a turn for the worst.
Because we had been doing a thing. We had a thing. We were kids in the woods, trying to survive, fighting other clans. It was great. Imagine if The Walking Dead was all of a sudden like, oh, there are robots here.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's basically what it is.
Totally, yeah. That's a good comparison.
But The Walking Dead is a lot more, like, we are people and society is over. At least in The 100, it's like we had a space station. Like, technology is a thing that happens. But on the ground, there's supposed to be nothing like that. No electricity, no technology, nothing. But we get down there and Jaha finds, long story short, he finds this AI. And it's this artificial intelligence there. And her name is Allie. And she is trying to campaign to get people to join her in the City of Light. Which is this, like, world in the cloud. Like the iCloud, like...
Yeah. And how you get there is you take this little piece. It's like a small, but it's tech. You consume it.
It puts your like binary code, your brain, up into that cloud. And so people who take that chip meditate, and they're in the City of Light with the other people who have taken the chip.
Which is this just fake city that doesn't. It's not a physical thing that exists.
It's just like in the cloud. It doesn't. It's not real. Oh my. Do you see?
So, moving on.
Meanwhile, while all this is happening, by the way, Clark has massacred an entire group of people in a bunker.
Just to catch you up
on the other stuff. Clark has completely eliminated an entire group of people who have survived this 100 years. Who, it doesn't matter. They were really annoying and awful. And in the meanwhile, these people have ruined a lot of our characters, namely Jasper Jordan, who was always my favorite, Devin Bostic.
Jasper was for sure the first one to go.
He plays Roderick in Dire Ruby Kid.
He does. He plays the hell out of Roderick.
That's Jasper Jordan, and he meets a girl, and she completely destroys his character. Completely, entirely, and that's really one of the main reasons why I stopped watching this show way back in the day, because Jasper was always my favorite. He was my baby. He was the reason I watched the show, basically. And they completely 180 his character, and he becomes the worst character in season 3 and 4. When does he die? 4?
And 4, because it's...
Yeah, in season 4, he is the worst part of the show in season 4. But... So Clark completely massacres all those people.
There's a lot going on throughout all of these bigger plot arcs.
Finn massacres an entire village. It's bad.
Yeah. And then Finn dies for it, so that's good.
That's okay. Clark doesn't. But Clark lives with that. It's rough. And meanwhile, Abby, Clark's mother, is kind of the worst. She's always kind of been the worst.
Yeah, we hate
and she's
Abby.
Just annoying. Yeah, not a fan of Abby. She's just annoying. But Marcus Kane ends up, he becomes the voice of reason, which is really weird because
he wasn't in the first season.
Up on the arc, he was always the one arguing for killing people. Mm-hmm. But then once you realize, you're like, oh, he did want the best for his people. But he's totally the, enemy in season 1.
Yeah.
But then, while we're down on the ground, he becomes the total moral compass of the series. The voice of reason. He always... is a good boy.
Yep, he makes every correct decision.
Because the thing that's so infuriating about this show, as well as every other CW show, is the dialogue and the choices people make are always really bad and really dumb.
Yep.
So whenever...
And they're never consistent.
Nope, never. So when someone's, presented with a problem or something, they always make the wrong decision. It's so dumb. They always say the wrong thing. So Marcus Kane... always says the right thing. And so we got super attached to him because he's the only thing that makes sense in this show.
He's the only consistent character.
He always says the right thing. He always makes the right decision, where every other character in the show cannot do that.
And he just, he cares so much. He has such a good
heart. He has a lot of feelings. If Kane didn't exist, we wouldn't have ended up finishing this show. I really, really think that.
He ended up, that kind of got passed around too with the, there's that one thing that's pulling us through, dragging us, kicking and screaming through the series. But he was definitely the one that did that the most.
Yes, definitely.
Him and another boy.
We'll get to Murphy. Because I got a lot to say about John Murphy. But so Kane becomes this crazy voice of reason. He's great. He's the reason we watch the show. Which is weird if you think of season 1, which he was the worst and everyone hated him. But he ends up... If you told me when I was 14 that I would watch this when I was 21 and I would watch it for Kane, I'd say you were crazy.
Yeah.
But here we are. Yeah, for some reason nukes are happening again.
It's just this giant nuclear wave that just...
Why?
I don't know.
Why does that happen again?
I don't know.
Because, no one pushed a button. No one did anything.
No.
It just starts happening for no reason. You're gonna notice this
they have to...
worse and worse.
Figure out how to survive that. And they need to make a plan. And that's what happens.
Yep. And so, real quick, our people find a bunker. Long story, but we get to a bunker. And so the plan is to put people in this bunker. However, at this point in time, we have made peace, or semi-peace, with all the Grounders. There are 12 clans. We become the 13th clan of Grounders. And there's certainly not enough room in that bunker for all those people. So there's a lot of conflict about who gets to live in the bunker and stuff. And it's rough, because a lot of people die. But in the end, by the end of season 4, fast forwarding,
we have a good split of all of the different clans living in the bunker.
Yeah. We end up giving the same amount of heads to every clan.
Yeah.
Which was really hard to get people to agree to.
Yes. And it's really, really sad because majority of the people left on Earth are left out of the bunker to die.
And they do.
And they do.
Like, the entire human race, like, are all dead.
And then we also had a small group that, for certain reasons, didn't get to the bunker in time.
Yep.
And so they went back to space.
We found a rocket, and we sent them to space.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. And how we end that season and start the next is we do it's not our first big mistake, for sure.
No, but it's a big one.
This was the big
It was the turning point.
shift in the show.
Because at this point it wasn't good. It really, really wasn't good. But it was still,
But it was still
tolerable.
And it was still, like, close enough to how it started.
Yeah.
That it felt like the same show. It doesn't feel like the same show after this.
It doesn't. Why? What happened?
And then we have another shift. So, what we do while we're in the bunker and while some of us are in space is we do a 6-year time jump.
For our viewers, that is so many years.
That is so
Because
many
all of
years.
our main characters are children. They're all like 16, 17, 18.
So they're
6 years is so, like, that's a lifetime to someone that age.
Yep.
So they're all like in their like mid-20s now.
Yeah.
And so they all have different mindsets, they all have different beliefs, they all have different relationships with
They're
others.
Some of them, especially, are just completely different characters.
I don't know if they decided at Bellamy.
At Bellamy.
At Octavia.
Blake.
I don't know if the Blake siblings are rough.
Yeah.
I don't know if they wanted their characters to evolve to what they become, but didn't want to have to deal with doing that, so they just went, okay, 6 years are going to go by, and they're all going to have developed like this, but we're not going to show you how they develop.
You're not allowed to do that.
You cannot do that.
That ruins the whole storytelling thing.
That's
Character
the one
development.
Thing, that's the one thing this show's really bad at. Storytelling.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
You could argue that's the most important thing.
You could argue that storytelling is the most important thing in storytelling.
About storytelling, yeah.
They're really, really bad at it. So we have that 6-year time jump, and all of a sudden, people have different beliefs, people have different ideals, people have different relationships with people. But so those people who went up to space, most of them had never met. After those 6 years, they're all each other knows.
For the rest of the series after that, they are constantly just worried about each other and, like...
They call each other their family.
Yeah.
Now, which is sweet, and that's okay.
But we were family with other people, other characters that didn't go up to space with us. So those characters are, like, now, like, pushed away by these 7.
Yeah, and... You're allowed to, like, I love having these people be isolated and having them develop and, like, become each other's family, but you have to show us that.
Yes.
All of a sudden, they're obsessed with each other.
Attached.
And it's so weird, and they don't care about anyone else.
Just to show how crazy it is, Clark wasn't with them.
Yep.
Clark is our main character, pretty much.
Yeah.
And she wasn't with that group.
Nope. And so, like...
So she's not a part, she gets a little kind of pushed away.
Yep, after that,
She also pushes
she's
herself away.
Yeah, because she finds
She has her
a
own
friend.
family.
But, for reasons we don't have to get into, one other little girl lived through the second nuclear
And
wave.
Clark adopts her.
And Clark adopts her. Her name is Maddie. She's like a little kid. And again, I love that Clark has this person in her life now, and she calls her daughter, and she's really sweet. Their relationship is really cute. But you didn't show us any of that. All of a sudden, the only thing that Clark lives for is this little girl.
And we'll sure as hell get to that point later.
Oh.
Because suddenly, she's the only thing that matters to Clark.
Like, no matter what.
And Clark sacrifices a lot for her.
It gets bad.
Yeah. So what happens after the time jump is they get all the people out of the bunker.
This is season 5 at this point.
Yes. And
I would argue we can say seasons 1 to 4 3 and 4 are pretty rough, but seasons 1 to 4 are like, that's the show.
That is one continuous story.
That's the story. They should have
But it's all
ended after
connected.
season 4. Seasons 5, 6, and 7 are so bad.
We're gonna say it now. Every single thing we're about to say from here on out gets worse and worse, and you get to a point where you're like, it can't get worse, and it does.
We finished
and then
season
it does
5.
again.
We finished season 5 and we went, there literally can not be anything worse than this ever. And
we did.
good God, it got so much worse.
So,
Anyway, so we're in season 5 now. 6-year time jump has happened.
we get everyone up from the bunker, and we're back down from space, and we're all together again. And the prime fire is what we call it, which was the like nuclear wave.
The second one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not prime fire. That would be first.
Yeah.
But, it has destroyed the entire planet.
Yep.
Clark has been really, like, trying to live, and the only reason she does is because where she finds this little girl is in this one little, like,
Valley.
it's a valley. This valley that the wave just kind of missed.
It's fine.
It just passed over
It
it.
destroyed every single other piece of land on Earth except for this tiny little patch that Clark happened to be a mile
Near.
away from.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
It's not
Whatever.
And I think they tried to make it that, like, since it was in a valley, it passed over.
There
There are lots
plenty
of
of
valleys.
Well, really quickly, our friends up in space all get much closer to each other. Clark meets Maddie, and then down in the bunker, Octavia Blake, Bellamy's little sister, becomes the like leader of everyone in there. Long story of how that happened.
She
Doesn't
didn't
matter.
want to.
She does not want to lead. She's
was
not
pushed
fit to
to.
lead. She doesn't want to lead. She's a little kid. She's very aggressive as a person.
To be clear, she's not a child.
No.
She's a teenager.
She's like 16, probably.
But,
But that's a child. God.
but yes, but she's a child.
And real quick, our people down in the bunker aren't doing so hot. They start running out of food pretty quickly after a couple
We need to
years.
talk about it.
I know, but I feel like I have to mention it because it's crazy. And so Octavia, because she's a child, an aggressive, spitfiery little kid, thinks the best way to resolve disputes is making people fight each other to the death.
Yep.
And then the one person that lives is allowed to live.
Yep.
So the question becomes, what do we do with those dead bodies? We can't go outside. We can't throw them outside. It's going to start smelling bad. So
They start running. There's going to be a year that they have like a food farm type thing.
yeah, they have like a farm.
And for some reason they're gonna have this year where they're really low on
Yeah,
food.
why can't they make food for
Oh.
whatever, doesn't matter. But they can't make food for a year.
So I think you can see where this is going. They start to eat their dead,
Ugh. And a lot of people refuse to do it. And
which is like, yeah,
under Abby, Clark's mom, under her, like, watch, she tells Octavia to do this. It's not Octavia's fault. She's a little kid. She doesn't know what she's doing. Octavia starts killing the people who refuse to eat people.
she starts threatening them with a gun, and then they are still refusing, so she starts killing them.
This one guy was like, I don't want to eat this meat because my brother died in the fighting pit yesterday, so it could be him.
Yeah.
And Octavia's like, you eat it or you die. And he doesn't eat it, and he dies. Oh my god. To let the record show that Cain didn't want to eat people.
No.
Cain was the first one to refuse.
Yep, he was like, absolutely not. This
But
is
then
horrible.
people start dying, and he feels like it's his fault.
And he knows that people will follow him, so
Yep,
he
starts eating. But he does not want to, and that follows him until the day he dies. That, like, haunts him
to. Yep.
so
Definitely.
bad. The poor thing. Ugh.
So that's what happened in the bunker with those 6 years.
Yeah, so and then a lot of other things happen in the bunker
Yeah.
too. It's that bunker is a dark place. Bad place. Oof.
So, season 5, obviously, since we have barely any humans left alive, we have to introduce a new group. So, this
So
ship-
where will this group come from? They're probably in another bunker.
Yeah,
They're
right?
probably like
Of course.
maybe another group of people survived the wave. Where did they come from?
They came from space.
Oh. We knew for certain that the Ark was the only space station with people alive on it. We were the only people that survived the first nuclear war.
Yeah.
Except for the Grounders, but we didn't know that. But all of a sudden we're like, just kidding. There's a big ship full of mass murderers up in space.
So it was a ship that was sent to mine on a different planet.
Yeah.
And it was a huge group of prisoners. It was like prison labor.
It was exactly what we did on the Ark. The people on Earth 150 years ago said, oh, we need to go mine on this planet, but we don't think it's very safe, so we're going to send our worst prisoners to go do it. And those happen to be the only people that live the nuclear war.
So they come back to Earth.
And they have like cryo freeze technology.
Yes,
so they're like still the same age as they were when they left.
Because that was, way back before Earth was destroyed the first time.
The first time.
Before the nuclear war. That's when they were sent. So yeah, they have the like cryo chambers that they were in for a while, so that's how they're still alive.
Yeah. Whereas on the Ark, there's been 4 generations of people like having babies and dying, but it's called Allegis, this group of prisoners, like the Allegis program. On the Allegis ship, it's the same people they sent up in the first place. So it's a bunch of crazy psychopath murdering, like
terrorists.
Terrorists, that's important.
And so all of season 5 is all of these groups, the prisoners and our bunker people and space people, which I guess we're all kind of one group now. We're all fighting over this one good patch of land that's left. 'Cause we can't all just get along.
That's the moral of this show.
And just say, hey, we all want to survive, and we all can survive together. So we're all fighting over it the whole time. Just to, at the end of this season, have one of the prisoner characters destroy the entire piece of land.
Push a button to have another missile come down.
Yeah.
And so everyone gets sent back up into space.
On this one ship, the Allegis ship.
Yep.
We're all piled in.
And so now we've got this crazy, like, the Island of Misfit Toys in this ship, because it's some people from the Ark, some grounders, like, from every clan. We have, like, a bunch of different people who are grounders. We also have some of the older prisoners. Like, everyone's here, but we've lost so many along the way.
So many.
I feel the need to just address. Kane ends up being the only thing getting us through this show because, like, Bellamy was really fun, Jasper and Monty were really fun, like, Finn was great, but by season 5, they've completely destroyed Bellamy's character.
Yep.
They killed Jasper.
Yep.
Monty only becomes a boyfriend. That's the only thing he exists for.
Him and Harper
are so gross. They've absolutely torn every character we love to shreds.
Yep. So we were really holding on to Kane.
We really needed Kane because he somehow stuck it out.
And so we're all on the ship, and we go, and the last livable piece of land on Earth is destroyed, and we're like, well...
what do we do now?
Conveniently...
the ship that we're on has cryo technology. So we're like, we're just going to freeze ourselves for 20 years until the Earth starts to grow again.
We said 10.
Was it 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to, like, put ourselves in cryo for 10 years, and I'm sure things on Earth will start to grow again. And they have, like, little timers on them, so in 10 years we'll all wake up.
Yep.
And then season 5 ends, right? Yeah. With all of our characters waking up 150 years later. Hello?
And then...
And there are 2 suns on the planet we're looking at.
And then get this. We're in a different galaxy. At
a
different planet.
It somehow gets worse from here.
Because I remember this happened and we were like, oh, what? So this is us really, really ditching everything that made the show the show. Because we have no Earth now.
Earth is gone.
Yep.
Like, but we don't even need to say this, but I have to say it because it's one of the stupidest plot points. We talked about Monty and Harper are dating. Monty used to be the best character, now he's like the worst character. And when we all went into the cryopods to like freeze ourselves for 10 years, for some reason, Monty and Harper decided to not freeze themselves. But we don't explain.
No.
They're just like, we want to be together. Be together in 10 years.
Yeah, they would have woken up and it's like no time has passed and you're good and you're
it
fine.
would have been fine.
But instead, you're just gonna never see any of your friends again.
Yep.
Because Monty and Harper end up dying.
Of old age.
Of old age.
Because 125 years go by.
But they had a son. So their son takes over.
So there's this boy when we wake up at the end of season 5, 150 years later, Clark and Bellamy wake up and see this boy they've never seen before, and like they know every face on this ship because there are not many people, and they're like, who is this child? He's like 25. They're like, who is this kid? And he's like, I'm Monty and Harper's son. And they're like, what?
Because Monty and Harper didn't tell anyone they were staying behind, so they didn't even get to say goodbye.
Nope, they're just dead now. Monty made a little video for them explaining. He stayed awake, and after 10 years, he went to wake people up, but Earth wasn't livable yet.
Yeah.
So after, 30 years, he decided to not wait it out, not wait and see if Earth became livable again. No, we're gonna go to a different galaxy.
And find a different planet.
And we do.
I don't even want to. I can't.
I can't.
I can't do it.
Season 6 and 7 we're not gonna talk about. Let's just say we get down to the planet, and there are people there.
There was another, Aegis ship.
Another group of people in space that weren't supposed to be alive but are.
Way back when Earth sent all these Aegis ships out.
Keep in mind, at this point, it's been 300 years.
That's the word I was looking for earlier.
Keep in mind, it's been 300 years now. Because there was 100 years, and then it's been a while, and then 150 years. We've been here.
So this Aegis ship went and colonized this other planet in some other galaxy, and no one knew.
Yeah, we just didn't want to talk about it. I don't... But, so, season 6 and 7 are us going down to that planet and dealing with the people there. There's this rock that can teleport you places. The people there are immortal. They take their brains out of their heads and put them into other people.
A handful of people do that.
They're worshipped like gods.
The rest of the people think they're just gods, but it's really, guess what it is again?
Science!
Technology! And they have these little mind ships that they can just transfer their consciousness to different bodies.
There's a lot more to this
that
we're not going to get into. But so we're not going to get into it, but... We find a rock that we can teleport to different planets with, and time passes differently on those other planets. Yeah, it's this ancient stone built by people.
We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. We don't
have the answers.
We finished the series and we don't know. I'm down with leaving an ending open ended, but not. You need to explain.
No, because the ending wasn't open ended. We just had
things that were left unexplained.
Plot holes that we didn't explain.
But so, turns out, when we go to one of the planets that we can teleport to, there are these people with this crazy messed up religion who, believe that someday there'll be this
from Earth.
They're from Earth. This is a different group of people that are also from Earth, but got there a different way. Oh my goodness.
Well, just to throw it out there, they were originally... in the bunker, in our
bunker that we go to, yeah. It was made by a cult leader.
And that's where they found the little stone to teleport them to different planets, so they teleported to a different planet.
So these people, because they were originally a cult, they have this crazy religion where they believe in their, leader, who they call their shepherd, and they think that someday there will be this war to end all wars, and our people will either die or transcend. What does transcend mean?
Don't ask us!
I couldn't tell you. All I know is that you turn into a figure of light that looks like Groot. So
they turn into
we need to stop because I can't. Let's just say by the end of the series, Bellamy subscribes to this religion and then is killed for it, and then he's right in the end.
Yeah. They're like, Bellamy, you're crazy. And then Bellamy's trying to do things to help this group and support this group, and Clark is like, nope,
and Clark kills him.
And Clark kills him.
And turns out the religion he subscribed to was correct. That religion, we treat these people like fanatics. They're crazy. They weren't right.
We end this season, we end this series with this insane belief that becomes true.
Clark goes
where
and talks to
everyone-
God.
we every single person left alive, every single human left alive anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe, just turns into this little glowing ball and disappears, and their body's gone, and it leaves this little glowing Groot in their place. And the reason we know that this happens is because it doesn't happen to Clark.
Clark isn't allowed to go with everyone to this. It's not heaven, because you're not, like, conscious up there. It's not like a
It's
world
not
that
like
you live in.
like afterlife.
But
They become like one consciousness.
so you die. They're all
Yeah.
dead. All of our characters have died.
We end it treating this like a good thing.
This is not
But
a good
it's
thing.
Not, and none of our characters would want to be
No,
that.
my God. But we make sure to give you the little nugget that if you've died, you're not allowed to transcend. So Bellamy isn't allowed to be there with everyone. Even though that was his religion.
They
That's
say
what he believed.
you can only transcend if you're alive, which is like, what?
Why?
I don't understand.
But everyone's allowed to transcend except for Clark, which is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
Clark,
It is.
Clark is
We
left
were-
alone.
We were laughing
universe.
our way through the entire last episode.
Oh my.
I'm so sorry.
Kane ends up
Viewers.
dying. They bring him to space and he dies anyway.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to Kane.
We didn't.
We didn't get to
Because
Kane's
it's too traumatic to talk about.
When we thought he was gonna die, he didn't. And then, like practically the next time he is conscious, he dies.
Yep. But first they put his consciousness in a different body just to spit on his
and
image.
because Kane is the morally sound good boy angel that he is, he says, I don't get to live by killing someone else. Absolutely not. That is not how we live. That is a terrible way to survive and live life. I don't want that.
Yep.
So he kills himself.
He does. Yep. Which I'm glad he did in hindsight because that was
And we,
what he would have
when they
chosen
were
to do.
when they were in the act of doing this to Kane, we went, he is going to kill himself.
We did. We said that because they talked about doing it to him for a while, and then they did it, and we were like, Kane would hate this.
Mm-hmm.
Abby, his girlfriend, we don't talk about it, is making decisions for him that we know he wouldn't want.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely knows he wouldn't want that, but she does it.
It was a
and
selfish act.
He wakes up, and guess what? He doesn't want it.
Wait.
Big
what?
shock. Big shock. Anyway, an hour later.
So that's the 100.
That's the 100.
If you haven't watched it yet, don't.
Watch the first 2 seasons and then stop forever.
Like, seriously.
The first 2 seasons are really good. They're really
They are.
fun. The characters are great, 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 great.
It's really interesting and, like, great action, great characters and relationships. It's really fun and cool.
And then they make every wrong choice they possibly could. They being the writers.
So let's just take a moment, after all of this craziness, to think back to what we said this show was about.
Remember when we said it was
100 children.
100 children sent to Earth to try to survive?
And there are also grounders there.
Yep.
The end.
The end.
Amen.
And now we're on a planet with rocks that can make you teleport. People are putting their consciousnesses in other people.
And then we all turn into a Groot.
We all turn into a glowing Groot.
Glowing
We are
Groot.
Groot.
We are Groot.
For all mankind.
That's their anthem.
Yep. So I just, to round this out in any way, let's just say, we literally, like very, very literally, laughed throughout the last 20 minutes of the episode.
Yep.
Last 20 minutes of the series. Like,
'Cause
hysterical laughter.
Honestly, please, if you aren't gonna do anything else, go watch the first episode of this show,
And then the last
go watch
episode.
the last episode of this show.
Please, please.
Like,
oh my
that'll
God,
be
please.
that'll be such an experience. I wish I could do
Yeah,
that.
wow.
Go.
Come on, it's like an hour and a half out of your life.
Yep.
Go do that, please. Oh. And let me know what you think.
Yeah.
Wow. Because that first episode is so good. It's so fun. We set up a thing. But, I don't know how many times last night we said, we were both hysterically laughing and crying.
Yup.
We were crying so hard. And it was like, but we weren't crying because we were sad or happy or
We were crying because it was the stupidest thing we've ever watched.
I have never cried because a show was so bad before. I was crying because it was bad.
It ended and we sat there and continued to laugh, and then we went, okay, good night.
What do we do now? So, I can say with absolute confidence, this is the worst show I've ever watched. I've watched a lot of TV.
We've watched a lot of bad
We've
TV.
watched a lot of bad things. This is by far the worst thing I've ever watched.
Sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
No, I'm just sorry.
I'm sorry for everyone
I'm
who's
just
involved.
sorry for everyone that was involved. Everyone that, like, enjoyed this show for so long.
It's just the
And then it
mindless killing of main characters, mindless changing ideals of everyone's favorite characters.
Anyway, that's the 100, and wow. What a trip. What a journey. What a horrible, horrible journey.
I feel so bad because I like it was by far the worst thing I've ever seen. But season 1 is really, really good and really, really fun.
So the moral of this is know when to end your stories.
Yes, no one. Yep.
Know when to say, this is the end, we're stopping here.
Mm-hmm. The moral of this is we're restarting season 1 tonight.
Yeah, we are.
We're gonna restart season 1 and watch it very casually and just remember what
Just
could have
to
been.
remember how good it was, and I want to remember it in that way.
I keep thinking
To
of
my
things
best
that are bad
ability.
about it. The mindless, like, forcing relationships, like,
Yeah.
romantic
We
relationships.
could go, as we tend to do with all things, we could say so much more about this. We could
Yeah.
go on
I'm
and
sure
on.
we're forgetting a lot.
Yeah.
We didn't make a list.
Yeah. But yeah, the relationships that are just, no one can just be alone and be
No
fine
one's
with
allowed
it.
to not
we
have a love
to constantly
interest.
be paired up. If you lose a love interest, you need another one
You
right
need a
away.
new one. The worst example of this is Octavia by far. Octavia is never allowed to be happy on her own.
And she's a very badass, independent woman. Like,
Yeah.
she's really cool.
Until she's
And-
not.
Yeah.
But
Overall. And she has a love interest the first few seasons.
oh, he's great.
And he's great.
They're
He's a
really good
grounder.
together. He's really
and they
fun.
work really well together. And
They're
a
like
great
the
couple.
reason we end up okay with grounders.
Mhm.
Because Lincoln, her grounder boyfriend, is like he's an advocate for the sky people. And
And Octavia is the same for us, for the ground.
yep.
And so they're awesome. And then Lincoln dies.
He dies because the actor didn't want to be on the show anymore. Which I totally respect.
Because he lasted a while.
I totally
Oh.
respect. Like, get out of there. He got out at the best possible time. He died in season
Yep.
3.
Yeah.
Um,
And that, and like we said, Octavia should.
that ruins Octavia, obviously.
That's not what I was going to say. Octavia shouldn't have had any other love interest after that.
Yep, that's what we've been saying. That Lincoln should have been it for her. She should have realized that, like,
Love is
sad,
her weakness.
sad moral, but, like, love is weakness, and, like, relationships like that make you weak, because that made her weak. And that's totally a thing she would think. Like, that would
yeah.
totally be her mentality. And
But
it's
instead, she
not.
has so many other love interests after that. And it's all so stupid and pointless and forced and dumb.
And, like, we always spit on love, but, like, relationships can be done really well. We didn't talk about them at all. But Murphy and Emori are a
Yes.
relationship in the show, and they're so
didn't talk
fun,
about her.
and they're so great, and they're so good for each other. Well, she's good for him.
Yeah.
And, like, we talked about Alice and Jasper from Twilight being a good relationship. Murphy and Emori are a
Totally.
fantastic relationship because they're two great characters.
Mm-hmm.
I literally can't name another good relationship in the show. Like, currently. Like,
Wow.
Octavia and Lincoln were fun. Wow. I'm really trying.
Finn and no one.
Nope, Finn should not be with anyone. Clark and Raven should have gotten together.
Oh, Clark and Lexa.
Clark and Lexa are great. Yep, of course.
Mm.
Like, end of list. Oh, Sinclair and Miller. Sinclair. Whoa.
I was like, oh.
I looked at Sinclair on my list. Jackson and Miller.
Yes.
They're
yes.
great.
Mm-hmm.
End of list.
Mm-hmm.
Like, woof. I don't want to talk about Murphy, because I could talk about Murphy for a long time.
I can't believe we didn't talk
But
about
I have to address. Murphy in season 1 is like...
Yeah, serious.
I have to say this. If this is going out to the world,
Yeah, you got it.
this is my time. Murphy in season 1 is like absolutely the worst. He's such a jerk, and nobody likes him, and we hang him. We hang him for being a jerk.
Crime that
We hang him for a crime he doesn't commit. So
But
he
then
lives.
he's fine.
He lives. Barely. But if you know me, you know that that'll be the character that I like, because he's the underdog and nobody likes him, but nobody likes him for things that aren't his fault. So, in season 2, when I watched it the first time, Murphy was my baby boy, and I loved him so much, and not a single other person on Earth agreed with me. I was so alone in my love for Murphy, and I'm okay with that. I lived through that. That happens a lot at Kylo Ren. We'll talk about that someday. And I told the people who watched it that I liked him, and people were so mean to me. People bullied me for liking him, but I stuck it out because I knew he needed support. Now he somehow lived to the finale. Now he's everyone's favorite character.
Because he was the only good character.
He was the only good character left.
Yeah, he really turns it around and
He
becomes
becomes
a
a
good
really,
person.
really good guy, and he's really sad. And he feels like he has to
Make up.
for the bad he did,
But
which
he
is so
didn't
sweet.
even Okay, if we compare the bad that Murphy did to the bad that
Clark!
Bellamy and Clark and Octavia have done,
Hello, Murphy's just a jerk.
yeah. But he hasn't massacred anyone.
Clark, we didn't really talk about it a lot, but Clark has killed so many people. I would love a kill count on her. It's in the thousands.
You can't even keep track.
It's really bad. She ends up being known as the Commander of Death.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but Murphy's a good boy, and I loved him so much, and people hated me for liking him, and now he's everyone's favorite character, and I'm just salty about it.
I think
Because I liked him
the
back.
reason everyone loves him now is because he's the only thing that they can hold on to for some sort of familiar feeling
Yep.
of what the show was.
Murphy, I think, is probably the best written character throughout this show, because he never really has that moment that literally every single other character had, where they just change. They get new morals for no reason. They make decisions that they wouldn't make. He doesn't really do that ever.
No.
He makes wrong decisions, but that's in character.
And even as he becomes a better person, he keeps making the wrong decisions, and he keeps having those little flukes of he's trying, but sometimes that just he's looking out for himself and he can't help it.
Yep.
But then then he's like, no, I'm still trying to do better. And it's
And you see him making these decisions, and you can totally see why he'd make the decisions he's making.
Yep.
But all that said, he's still, by the end of the series, rough. He's pretty rough. Everything that happens around him and about him is not good, but that's not special to him. He decides to. It doesn't matter.
No, it's fine. But yeah, we have to shout out to Murphy.
Shout out to
because
Murphy.
Best boy.
Best boy Murphy, and I'm so. That's fine. No, best boy Kane.
Yeah, best boy Kane. We love Murphy.
Murphy's great. It's a tragedy. This whole show, not the show, but the show as an object is a tragedy.
Yeah.
Not the plot, just what happened to this poor show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The plot itself is a tragedy as well, but
It's just so disappointing.
that's what it is. And bottom line is it's just very, very disappointing. And I was going to watch it someday.
That no matter what I watch in my life, nothing will be worse than
Nothing
this.
will ever be as bad as this was.
Yep.
They keep it.
And I need that reference.
They have this dumb trope. Things are just going to keep coming to mind. They have this dumb trope where we introduce children and then do a crazy time jump, and these kids are now old enough to have a love interest and know everything about all of our characters.
Do you hear how specific that
That's
just
super
was?
specific, isn't it? It happens at least 3 times.
Three separate children characters
in different places. Like, it's not like we had
Different
3 kids it happened
no.
to at once. No.
different places in the series, different places in the world and
Yeah.
the universe.
All 3 of them were in different places. Like, we introduce a child, and all of a sudden we see them as a semi-adult, knowing everything there is to know about our characters. It's just really, really, really lazy writing.
Yep.
You don't want to introduce a new
And
character
then
and, like,
they-
go through the boring of learning them.
They think that means that then they can just throw them in with our group and act like they have all these relationships with these characters.
They've been around the whole
and they've
time.
been around to experience everything just because they have the knowledge of what's happened.
All 3 of these
It's like
children...
if you threw me in.
Yeah. All 3 of these children were born in isolation. Like, they don't really know how to be around
I
people.
can't believe how identical their stories are.
If you know, it's Maddie, Jordan, and Hope. Like, the 3 of them are the exact same character. That's so unbelievably lazy.
You think at least by the 3rd one, someone would have been like, hey, we already did this, like, twice.
At least twice. And then, like...
How about we do something else?
It's just, so I was praising it in season 1 and 2 for having, like, quick plot lines, like, quick storytelling. Like, we deal with everything. Like, we're not trying to rush, but, like, it's really well done. But, so I don't know if by season 7 they're just bored or they, like, still like they're hurrying through the plot. So they just they want to introduce new characters but have them know everything. Like, I don't count this one as in that group, but there's a guy in the last season that suddenly knows our entire character's stories because he can see their memories. He sees Octavia's whole memories, and he suddenly knows her entire life story. It's just lazy.
Yep.
It's okay if they don't know.
And this just isn't, it's their own fault for creating the world they did.
Yep.
But this isn't
Yeah.
a world where it's easy to just introduce new
No,
characters. You
People don't
can't.
exist.
So, guess what? Don't, like, give up on the characters you already have.
That's exactly what they
Work-
did. They just gave up.
They just get bored. Like, don't, like, you need to work with what you gave yourself.
You signed up for this.
Yeah.
Moral of this is just that this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I've never laughed my way through a sad finale before.
So, if you found any of the things we said interesting in a horrible way, go check it out.
Watch the show,
Yeah.
please. Again, just watch the pilot and the finale if you don't want to watch the whole thing.
Yeah. That would be so fun
I
to
wish
do.
I could do that. Cause
Should've done
it's a
that
different
first.
show. If that happened, I'd be like, how did they get the exact same cast for a different show?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sorry this went so long,
I'm not.
but
It needed to.
yeah, we had a lot to say. We've had a lot built up to say over the past.
And I'm gonna keep thinking of
Weeks.
things that we didn't say, and there'll be housekeeping.
Yep. We're sad, but not sad for the right reasons.
No. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Just sad for this show and the
I'm tired now.
yeah.
I'm
This took a lot
emotionally
out of
exhausted.
me. Mhm.
I'm
I'm
just
glad I took ibuprofen right before sitting down.
all I'm gonna say in closing is just Kane. This whole series was worth watching for Kane,
Yeah.
for the existence of him in my life.
Yeah.
How did a trash fire like this, like absolute dumpster fire, produce such an angel?
Yep. Mhm. Oh.
He's like the best character that's ever happened. Just like morally. He's a baby, even though he's like 50.
Oh yeah, whatever. It's okay.
He looks great.
He looks great. He gets better with age.
I'm telling him, that's what I'm saying. So add him to that list of old men that I talked
Yep.
about in the first episode. I like
Henry Ian Cusick is his name.
He is Scottish. He's like Scottish Peruvian.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. Anyway.
Try your best to keep moving
Kane
forward.
deserved better. Murphy's a good boy. Jasper deserved better. If there's any character in the history of ever that deserved better, it's Jasper Jordan. There was so much that we didn't talk about that happened. Yep. Like, I know it sounded crazy, the things we were saying. I'm sure it did. But there's somehow so many plot points we left out.
Alright. Get a snack.
Keep moving forward.
Go lie down. I'm gonna go lie down.
If you're gonna watch the show, watch it for Jackson.
I wouldn't. Some people might not be on board with that one.
I am.
He's gonna show up in season 1 and then not again for like so long.
You don't even know that's him in season 1. They don't say his name until season.
they
Remember
don't
when
know
I was like, they'll say his name.
Yep. Took a while.
They're like, we should probably name this extra.
Just find your character, latch on, hold on tight, and if they die,
sorry.
Stop watching.
It's probably Kane. That character you latch on to will probably be Kane. Alright. Keep moving forward.
Turn this damn thing off.
Bye. I'm upset.